Harry's wife. Court defeat. The Daily Express reports, via Claire Anderson, Harry's wife wins defamation lawsuit against half-sister Samantha. Samantha Markle tried to sue her half-sister, Harry's wife, for humiliation and defamations following the Oprah Winfrey interview. Harry's wife has successfully had her half-sister, Samantha Markle's court case dismissed, nullification of threat to control. She had accused the royal of spreading malicious lies during the bombshell Oprah Winfrey interview in 2021. But a Florida judge has thrown out the lawsuit, saying that Harry's wife's statements were pure opinion and not capable of being proved false. Which should encourage some people to know that if she starts throwing her weight around, many of your observations about her, you can just say, they're pure opinion and not capable of being proved false. US District Judge Charlene Edwards Honeywell wrote, "As a reasonable listener would understand it, defendant merely expresses an opinion about her childhood and her relationship with her half-siblings. Thus the court finds that defendant's statement is not objectively verifiable or subject to empirical proof. Plaintiff cannot plausibly disprove defendant's opinion of her own childhood." In a filing submitted in March last year, Samantha Markle claimed that demonstrably false and malicious statements were made by Harry's wife to a worldwide audience. Samantha has claimed Harry's wife defamed her to cover up her false rags to riches narrative, according to the Daily Mail. Samantha's lawyer, Peter Ticktin, told the court that Harry's wife used finding freedom to affirm this false narrative that she supposedly lived this rags to riches thing. Facade management. He said she got caught. She was lying about her education, that she was getting all these scholarships. Her father paid for her education, for goodness sakes, and she got caught with this lie. Why else is she putting her sister down? Why else is she putting her father down? Why else is she denying her family, who has done nothing but good to her all her life? She has never had a problem with them at all. Well, of course, Mr. Ticktin, if he accessed my work, would know that the reason she has a problem with them is that she no longer has any use for them, and therefore she pops them on the shelf. They, of course, then complain about that, understandably so. Why are you having nothing to do with us? Do you think you're too good for us now, after all of the things that we've done for you, particularly from her father's perspective? Of course, the complaints of her father, the complaints of her half-siblings, are challenge fuel and are a threat to the control that Harry's wife needs. And therefore, she moves to disengage from them, because not only do they no longer serve a purpose for her, but they're becoming troublesome, and they must be silenced. And that's why she has put them down. That's why she has nothing to do with them, notwithstanding what they've done. Because from her perspective, they're treacherous, they're traitors, they're problematic, and therefore her narcissism compels her to silence them. The article continues with the lawyer stating she's denying them to cover up that she made up this narrative that she went from rags to riches, which is nonsense, probably not even realising the harm she would do to her sister. Probably never realising this would put an innocent person into the fray, where all of a sudden she has hundreds of threats on her life coming at her, a stalker she had to deal with. Harry's wife's lawyer, Michael Kump, hit back at Ticktin's comments, branding them inappropriate and, quite frankly, offensive to my client. He noted, "Don't make a federal case out of it." Not every perceived slight ought to be litigated, and that's true here. Plaintiff is taking issue with Harry's wife's own impressions of her own childhood growing up, but that's not a proper subject matter for a court of law. And in a way, her lawyer is correct, because it is her impression, viewed through the lens of her narcissism, that caused her, in order to assert control over her half-sister, to basically state, "I grew up as an only child," which was part of the complaint that Samantha Markle railed against. Her lawyer continued, "The statements at issue here are not defamatory as a matter of law. The right to voice opinions and even criticise are guaranteed by the First Amendment. Courts have held pre-trial dismissal is necessary in defamation cases because of the chilling effect these cases have on First Amendment rights, even though Harry thinks the First Amendment is bonkers." Of course, note the hypocrisy here. That she will hide behind the First Amendment, saying, "It's my opinion and I'm entitled to make it, but don't you dare have an opinion about me which is critical. You're not allowed to do that, because if you do, you're a racist and a hater." Once again, Harry's wife's narcissism is writ large by demonstrating the hypocrisy by which she behaves. Camp went on to argue that the first 7 of the 10 statements cited by Samantha Markle as defamatory were from Finding Freedom and should be excluded since Harry's wife did not write the book nor publish it, which we all know is a load of bollocks because it's quite clear that it was essentially the diary of Harry's wife. He said the law in Florida is clear. Publication requires that the defendant made or published the false statement. Thus, defeat for Samantha Markle and another court victory for Harry's wife. Of course, it provides us with an opportunity to see the hypocrisy of her behaviour, of relying on the First Amendment to express her views while stamping all over anybody else that expresses a view about her. How will this now be felt by her? Well, of course, she has managed to nullify a threat to control as a consequence of dealing with this lawsuit and having it dismissed. And as a consequence of that, that will bring her a sense of power as a consequence of learning of this. Conveying the result to her will provide her with positive fuel. Furthermore, it will cause her to feel emboldened in terms of, "I am right, see," and it will continue to cause her to view her half-sister as problematic. "She's a nasty person. She brought a lawsuit against me. But I, St. Harry's wife, of all things empathic, have rejected this frivolous and hurtful lawsuit. I would rather have sorted it out with her, but I had to deal with it in law, and I have done so." I doubt that Harry's wife will issue any kind of statement. Instead, she'll be haughty and dismissive, because, unlike her claim against Associated Newspapers Limited, where she saw herself as some kind of crusading individual, here she regards this lawsuit as an irritating wasp that needs to be swatted, and that she would just want to push it to one side and be done with it. And therefore, I very much doubt that she will necessarily issue a statement, which in effect is her further haughty way of demeaning her sister further by not even commenting upon it. She will, of course, be delighted by this, because it has enabled her to nullify a threat to control. It will also embolden her by propping up her fantasy and the delusion that she operates by, and therefore will, in her world, validate her views and beliefs, because a court has found in her favour. Of course, for the rest of us, we see the hypocrisy that's involved in this. Unfortunately for Samantha Markle, it wasn't the strongest of claims and is met with defeat. But Harry's wife won't care about that. As a narcissist, she will just focus on one thing. I won. That means I'm right. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.